Alrighty, guys. Well. We have 3 MCU Disney Plus shows that were allegedly somewhat far into production, although we'll talk about the nuances of what that means, and have now just been revealed to have been halted. There is, again, some context behind this that we want to talk about, but I find this very interesting, and we'll talk about the implications in just a second. So, yes, Marvel Disney Plus has had, I would say, a less than smooth ride since its inception in 2021. 2021, by the way, though, started off with a bang. In January, we got WandaVision, and that ended up being my second favorite MCU project of all time. So it's not all been failures. I've really enjoyed Hawkeye, especially even more so upon my rewatch. I like most of Ms. Marvel. I think Loki Season 2 is a success. I think Agatha All Along is fine. It's pretty good. And so I'm very much looking forward to Daredevil Born Again. But other shows, Loki Season 1, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Moon Knight had some decent things in there. She-Hulk, I think, is, Echo is fine. It is what it is. Secret Invasion, is what it is. So, again, they've been very hit or miss, right? So, anyways, I think a lot of that had to do with the content, the amount of content that was being produced, the quantity over quality mandate that was given by Bob Chapek, the former CEO of Disney. And now we are only just now, a couple years later, because again, production timelines they're very far in the future. So just now, I think with Captain America Brave New World, which I think was, I'm hoping, Ironheart notwithstanding, because Ironheart has been delayed so many times. So Ironheart is, I think, technically the last project in that original mandate, I would guess. But I think Captain America Brave New World is sort of the last real project where it was like, yeah, just pump out content. And Marvel, whether or not Marvel would have made Captain America Brave New World or not, I think what was clear was that Kevin Feige originally probably just didn't have enough time to do the quality control that he needed to do, right? And so Captain America Brave New World comes out, and, there are rumors that it was reshot and whatnot, and so they did the same thing with Daredevil Born Again, but it looks like Daredevil Born Again, they were able to start early enough in the production of this retooling, this rewriting, that they were able to just basically start from scratch. And they got the series that it seems like they wanted. Thunderbolts, it looks like, was a movie that they really put a lot of intention and heart into. Fantastic Four First Steps, pretty similar, it looks like. Wonder Man looks like the same. Vision series looks like the same. And Doomsday and Secret Wars looks like the same. So I think, the Disney Plus series, it's just sort of been a product, right? The quality, the varying levels of quality has just been a product of where Marvel has been in the past couple years. But, the other thing that they've done, right? Because I think it's pretty fair to say that they probably thought they had a really winning formula with WandaVision starting out the MCU. They, with all the positive word of mouth, they were like, oh, this is good. It's basically cutting up a long movie into little chunks. We got this. We're going to do well. And then, slowly they started to learn their lessons. And now they're officially moving forward. This was as of a few months ago, they announced, or not announced, but it was reported that they are now going to actually be, moving to having actual showrunners, because before they just had a writer's room, which worked, again, for some shows, but it didn't really for others. And they're also moving towards a model where they're going to be just piloting things internally and, making more content or sort of developing more content than they're actually going to make, which I think is a little interesting given Marvel, needs to have everything kind of tie together in some fashion. So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, all that to say, it has been reported now by Deadline that, and I'm going to read directly from the article, quote, Marvel Television has paused development on 3 projects, Nova, Strange Academy, and Terror Incorporated, Terror Inc. This is interesting, and it's interesting, well, let me just get the big elephant in the room out of the way, excuse me. It's hard to completely surprise me with any MCU news these days, because I'm, pretty plugged in. I kind of have to be just to be doing this podcast, but I also enjoy, hearing things, although I don't take leaks seriously, so I read them sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, it is what it is. Terror Inc. was not something I had ever heard of before. I'm going to be completely honest. So it is, again, it's difficult to blindside me with Marvel news, but the fact that Terror Inc. was not only in development, but it has now paused development is interesting to me. Anyways, let's read the second part of the quote. Quote, sources stressed to Deadline that these projects were never officially greenlit and may still come to fruition at some point. The studio has simply shifted its priorities at the moment. And it goes on to say, Nova, right? We've talked about this. Nova had a writer. Nova, I think, had a showrunner, right? So Nova was pretty far along. I think one of the people who wrote Criminal Minds was either the writer or the showrunner, right? So Nova was pretty far along in production. And so when they say they've never officially been greenlit, that's fair. I don't think you go as far, to hire a writer and a showrunner if the show hasn't been greenlit, unless they were just at the end of it and they were like, yeah, maybe we're ready to go. And then Marvel was like, hold on, pause. So we'll see. Strange Academy was rumored to be happening. We talked about that in one of the recent episodes with the rumor section. And again, Terror Inc., I've just never heard of this. Apparently this is a person in the comics who can, I guess, take people's limbs and adapt their personalities. I don't know. From the very little that I've read from this character in prepping for this segment, I really couldn't tell you that much about Terror Inc. But anyways, so yeah, it seems like Marvel is taking a step back and, quote, shifting their priorities, right? And I think, on balance, this is a good thing. I think that Marvel should step away from Disney Plus in general. I think something like one show a year is where their priority should be at. Because look, it's not really working, right? Even the shows that really do work, when those characters show up again in live action, it's like, what? What happened, right? Because the thing is, you can say MCU-wise, right? You can say in the Infinity Saga, people kind of jumped off the bandwagon because they were like, do I need to really watch all of these movies? And that was only when they were releasing, and I say only, 3 movies a year. And people were still like, do I really need to watch every single movie to understand what's going on in Infinity War and Endgame? And luckily, the Russo brothers did a great job. I maintain, and I obviously haven't experienced this myself, but I maintain that you probably could have watched Infinity War and Endgame without having seen every single MCU movie before then, right? I think that would have been fine. So again, if people were saying that with movies, then how much more would they be saying that now when I think way less people have Disney Plus, right? I think a fraction of the people who went to see Captain America Brave New World had Disney Plus and watched The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think the same went for WandaVision, although WandaVision I think was a very rousing success also because of COVID and whatnot, right? People were at home watching TV. But, I think way less people saw WandaVision and then went to see Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness because then people were like, wait a second, what happened here? What happened to Wanda, right? And to be fair, even the people who did watch WandaVision were like, what happened to Wanda? And I'm not one of those people. I've said it before. But anyways, Miss Marvel to the Marvels, right? It's just something about the way that they're approaching the television characters and bringing them to the movies later. Because let's be honest, right? I think Doomsday and Secret Wars can be really good. I really do. The Russos, I trust the Russos very much so. But still, and people are going to be like, but you've seen Daredevil and Spider-Man No Way Home. And no, you haven't. You saw Matt Murdock. You did not see Daredevil, right? So when people go to Doomsday and they see Daredevil, for example, they see maybe She-Hulk, for example, they see Kate Bishop, right? And they already have seen Kate Bishop in the end credit scene of the Marvels, but not many people saw the Marvels, right? You see Ms. Marvel again. How many people are going to watch that and be going, wait a second, I'm confused, I'm lost, what's going on here? Even in the trailers, right? If you see all of those, they're going to be like, wait, what's going on, right? So I actually think this might signal that Marvel is shifting away from Disney Plus. Again, the article points out it may not mean anything like that, right? It may mean that they're just simply putting it on pause. Maybe they're going to focus everything on Doomsday and Secret Wars for the time being. Fine, good. But I think that, Marvel should be very, very, very cautious with how they approach their TV shows. And I think that if they are, and it seems like they are with their pausing of a show that like Nova that was pretty far into pre-production, I think it's a good thing. I honestly do. I think that it's showing that they are understanding finally where their priorities are, and hopefully we'll get some good products, good movies, good shows out of that. So guys, what do you think? They are pausing. Marvel is pausing production on 3 shows: Nova, Strange Academy, and Terror Inc. What do you guys think? Would you be interested in these series? I would be interested maybe in Nova, maybe in a few years, but probably not right now. Honestly, I'd just like to see some X-Men series once the Multiverse Saga is over. But regardless, we'll see what happens there. Let me know in the comments down below.